there's something about that you're holding on to. Maybe you're a collector, whatever it is. You may have a reason to have it. But what if you could never throw anything away? Now that is hoarding. So today I am thrilled to be able to introduce you to a young man named Jacob Suarez, who is making awareness of, like, creating awareness of people who are hoarders and helping them through this journey. Is when I stumbled upon him, as a matter of fact, I can't remember who brought him to my attention. And I thought, wow, what an incredible young man to be able to take somebody at their lowest and give them hope and give them an expectation that they are enough to be able to have someone help them out. Hello, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach, and I'm the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. And if it's your first time tuning in, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as I mentioned before, we talk about, oh, I'm hoarding this or hoarding that, but there is nothing like what you might think is happening in your life compared to the people that can't get rid of anything in their life. And all of a sudden, their living conditions become a threat because it's dangerous, it's not safe, it's not clean. But somewhere along the way, this young man named Jacob Suarez, he is the founder of Biggie Clean, and you'll find it, and I will share, if you are a subscriber, you can just click on his name and it'll take you to his information. He is helping people reduce the burden of filth and hoarding and all the things that we might think, oh my gosh, we can't even look at. He is going in and helping these people for free. And he's created a beautiful, I don't know, a beautiful, I can't even say the word. He's created I don't know, a legacy, or what is he doing? And we're going to discuss that today. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Jacob Suarez is here to do just that. Welcome, Jacob, to the classroom. Thank you so much for
Hey.
coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to discuss all this. It'll be so fun.
Well, I feel like I've just adopted you. You're my new grandson. So
Yes.
so here's the thing. There's got to be a reason, a passion why you do this and how you kind of like fell into this. So can you share a little bit about your background and what led you to want to help people who have this hoarding condition?
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the hoarding stuff, I started back when I was in high school. I was around 17, 18 at the time. And it was a family business, right? We had just gotten into it. I was kind of like, oh, it was a family member who started it. And I was like, oh, you're going to help hoarders? And I've seen it on TV. And I was like, it seems kind of nasty and kind of like a lot of hard labor. And he was just starting out. And so I was helping him, right? And he just kind of needed some extra hands, a couple of guys to move all the trash out of the house. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's a good summer job. But then as I started getting further and further into it, it really became something unique and special. And we got to see basically complete and utter life change for these people, from beginning to end. And so, yeah, so I started in high school. Then I went off to college for a little bit, quit the biohazard hoarding cleanup stuff for a while. And then COVID happened. And then I came right back into it because COVID led people down a lot of, bad routes, and they got back into severe hoarding disorder, depression, right? Same thing with the death cleanup. Had that a huge spike of that during COVID season as well. And that's when I just realized how important this work was. And that's kind of why I stick with it to this day.
When you put it all together like that, it's like, I was watching some of your videos, and by the way, for those of you, all his TikTok and YouTube and also Instagram information is in the blog, so you can just click on it. It will send you directly there. As I was looking at your videos, my heart just goes out as a life coach. My heart goes out to these people, but I realize that there's mental illnesses that are beyond our control. It's beyond our understanding, right? And some of
Right.
them, it might be a deficiency, a mineral deficiency that's just gone on, or maybe some childhood traumas, or somewhere along the way, someone lied to them.
Mm,
As a young person, you're 17, 18 years old, getting started on this, what would make you think, oh, this is a good summer job? I would think that you would be mortified and go, they couldn't pay me enough for this. Did they pay you
right.
well for this? I mean, what was your motivator other than someone asked you?
Right. Yeah. So
Because you
obviously,
continued. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I did continue. Obviously, want to help family out. Family, we're in this together.
Hmm.
And I was getting paid above minimum wage, and at the
Okay.
time, I was pretty good for a high school student. A little bit
Okay.
of fun money. But what really kind of helped me, I think initially, I just loved the satisfying nature of the job. Right. You go into this home, it's full of trash, looks really rough, and then you go in within a couple hours, within a day, it's completely transformed. You know, and that feeling, that before and after, just never really gets old. You get to see the work of your hands, literally, like, this is what I did, this is the difference I made physically. Yeah.
But it's more than trash. It's feces. It's
Yeah.
garbage. It is clothes smelling like urine. It is
Hmm.
so much more. Why do you continue to do this? Why? What's your why now?
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. So with the hoarding disorder, like, there's different levels to it. You were saying you can get up to a very severe level of where you're not just hoarding trash anymore, you're hoarding diapers, that you use. Your toilet stopped working a year ago, and now you're going inside a bucket in the side of your house, right? Like, there are severe levels of disarray, mentally. And that the way what I notice is, the way your mind, that your physical space is a reflection of your mind in
Hmm.
some sense, right?
Hmm.
And so I think my heart really just fell for that, and for the people that were so far gone down that, and this sense of, like, is there any way we can help pull them out? Because no one should have to live like that. It doesn't really matter what your history is, what your past life was like, and what your current struggles are. You don't deserve to live in filth and trash, even though you did it to yourself
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, right? um and so, yeah, I think that's the why. It's like, no matter what, everyone deserves a fresh start, right? you know and luckily, I've got the stomach to be able to handle that sort of stuff. I've got this unique ability to just see that disgusting, trash and just awfulness, and just be able to turn the blinders on and be like, I don't care, I'm just gonna do it anyway.
So you are very clear that there are different levels of hoarding, and you do not help people that are first level. There's 5 levels, as I understand. You've educated me quite a bit. There are 5 levels of hoarding. So let's talk about those 5 levels of hoarding, because I want people to identify themselves if they're
mm,
watching today and they go, "Oh boy, this I'm at level 1, or I might be at level 2." And how do you get out of that? So
mm,
what has been your experience when it comes to these levels of hoarding, and how willing are people to walk away from this kind of life and turning into more of a neatnik?
mm. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. So, typically, there's about 5 levels of hoarding disorder.
Hmm.
Levels 1 and 2, we typically don't handle, because that's just more something along the lines that a maid, a housekeeper could take care of. Maybe a professional organizer would be best suited for that. Levels 3, 4, and 5, that's when you're going to need a professional biohazard cleaning company, professional hoarding cleaning company, to go deal with that. Because now we're talking dumpsters. We need 40-yard dumpsters on the scene, not a couple trash bags, right? So, yeah, levels 1 and 2, it's not too late to go back, right? Very manageable. Either the individual can take care of a level 1, level 2, or you can find some pretty affordable, cheap
Hmm.
resources to help get you back on track. That's, if it's like a railroad, you're off track a little bit, and then level 1 and 2, it's pretty easy to, like, get back on course. Level 3 and 4, I mean, you're really gonna have to put in a lot of elbow grease to do it. And oftentimes, people with hoarding disorder have physical disabilities, and they physically can't pick up after themselves. We do projects for elderly individuals who just don't have physical nature to clean up after themselves, and they're too stubborn to go and hire someone to get help, right? Because they've always taken care of it themselves, you know. Um, so yeah, physical ability does play a big role in a lot of these cases, as well as the mental ability. But yeah, I would say levels 1 and 2, you can definitely see a lot of people going back to, you know, something safe, you know, something very livable. And then levels 3 and 4, that's when we're kind of talking about severe mental illness for the most part. That requires a lot more than just a hoarding cleanup company. You're going to want to get therapists and sociologists and people on scene to really tackle that part, because it's a waste of human resources to go and clear out an entire home full of hoard if they didn't deal with any of the mental aspect, because then they're just going to go right back to it. So
do you get to sit with the people that you're helping? Do you get to meet the people? Do you interview them to see if what you're going to do is going to help them, or do you even care if they're going to go back to the filth?
right. So that's, you know, that's a dilemma where it's like, oh, this person's living in filth. No one should have to live like that. We want to help you. And we've had projects come up where they have budget, they can afford to pay us to clean up the hoard for that week, right? Um, but then we say no, because after our lengthy, you know, interview process and discussions with them, we realize, oh, they're not in a place to give up this stuff. Yeah, they say they want to be free of hoard, free of trash, but based off our analysis, we know that this isn't going to work. You know, there's some work on their mental side that they're going to have to do first, because we're not going to take your money if we know that this isn't going to help solve the problem. You know,
Right.
kind of like a do no harm type of thing,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so, yeah, we've had to deny some people because we just know for a fact that they weren't going to let go of their stuff, right? They may say they want to let go of their stuff, but if we know that they're not going to, you know, you're in kind of a pickle there. So yeah.
So when you started doing this with your family member, are they still doing it with you, or are you doing it with them? And then you've created a social media empire with this, to everybody now knows who be clean or Biggie Clean, because you've created a brand. How have you continued? You continued with your family or not?
Yeah, so obviously, I help wherever I can, you know, in the family business, but the nature of Be Clean and what we're doing is a little bit larger than that. The goal here is to help lift up the entire biohazard cleaning company as a whole, not just any one particular office. I think there's room for improvement across the board on a national scale. And I've been blessed and lucky enough to have a voice in this industry, and a pretty large one with the follower count we have. We reach a lot of people. And so the goal there is to, how do we improve biohazard cleaning as an industry completely? Kind of raise that bar a little bit. I want crime scene cleaners and hoarding cleanup experts to be known as some of the best of the best in the community, right? People that are full of heart, tenacity, and drive to help people on the worst day of their lives, right? I think that's what we're known for, and I want people to see that, hear that, visualize that with the content I make, and then help encourage operators all around the nation to achieve that level, right? So,
So okay, so I hear, I want to get clear here. So I know that you've done these things for free, but
mhm.
I know that you have sponsors that help out. How much is it to clean out a level 3 or a level 4 or a level 5 home, as far as how much does it cost? Because if you're trying to create or regulate this industry, this biohazard industry, it's like, how do you make sure that not only are you protected because you're breathing in all these toxins in your
Right.
body, you're also using chemicals that could, I know that you just like put layers after layers so that you
Hmm.
protect your skin, but how has the industry grown? I mean, because you talked about like crime scene, that's a totally different issue, but there's so many different things that fall under your umbrella. So what are some of the things that, first of all, how much does it cost to clean out a home like that? And what are some of the things that you want to change when it comes to biohazard cleaning?
Right. Yeah. So, as far as cost for a typical hoarder home, that really does depend on location and state. You know, a hoarder home project in Oregon is going to be a whole lot different than, you know, somewhere, in Texas or somewhere in Florida, right? The market changes. Um, And so I would say on average, you're probably going to be looking at $3,000 a day for a full crew, probably like 4 people, or if not a few more. And a big influence on the price is going to be, is there feces? Are there hypodermic needles? Is there urine soaked all throughout? Those things matter, because how are you going to find people to go and do these jobs? You got to pay them pretty well, because no one kind of just wants to volunteer for that, as you'll find out if you try. So that's a big cost. Obviously, the PPE is a huge cost as well. Hazmat suits, gloves, chems, respirators, right? You got to protect yourself. The training can be really expensive to learn how to do this, especially when it comes to needles and biohazards, right? You're not going to take any chances here, right? And unfortunately, insurance companies see the obvious risk there is with dealing with feces and blood and needles on a daily basis, and so you got pretty steep insurance costs and vehicles and those sort of things. So you're looking at probably roughly $3,000 for a full day of cleaning, and depending on the level and skill competency of a crew, you could probably get a level 3 hoarder home, 1,000 square feet, done for $3,000 to $6,000, right?
Wow.
That's kind of what we're looking at for those type of things, but obviously that does vary and change by state. Yeah. And then what was the other
The other question was, what are some of the things that you want to change in this industry that you feel is missing?
Yeah. So over the past, OG crime scene cleaners started, 20, 30 years ago. It was very, very small market. Not a lot of people did it. And so because of the nature of that, you can charge pretty exorbitant prices, because there's no market, to really say what things should cost. But over the past 5 years, it's exploded. A lot of people offer death cleanup. A lot of people offer hoarding cleanup. And so you see a lot of people entering the market to get rich quick, essentially. And so the things I want to improve about the industry are the cleaners and the hoarding cleanup experts that are there truly because they want to see an end to unnecessary trauma at no matter what the cost is, right? And there's a whole tangent I could go along with that, because death cleanup costs money, and so you either charge the insurance company or the people pay out of pocket for things like that. And so if there's a situation where they don't have insurance and family can't afford the death cleanup, they end up doing it themselves, and that's a problem, right? So that's the issue we're currently tackling.
So who pays? I mean, $3,000 a day is a steep price. And if they could afford to pay $3,000 a day, they could afford to get someone to clean their house on a weekly basis. You know what I'm talking, you know what I'm saying? So who pays that 3,000? When OG is the name of the company that you started working with your relative, right?
I can't really talk about the current name of the company.
Okay. You had mentioned OG. I didn't know what OG was. So
original Gangster. It's like an OG, like an OG crime scene cleaner was like the original crime scene cleaners back, in the day, early 2000s, mid 90s, right?
Okay.
So they're the originals, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
Got it. Okay. I thought you were saying that was the name. Okay. So what if the family can't afford to pay? Let's say it's an elderly person, or maybe they're on drugs and they're just living in this filth and they're being evicted. Who pays for that?
For the hoarding aspect of it?
Yes.
So the money has to come from somewhere, right? And so it either comes from the individual. Maybe there's a relative, a loved one that sees the need, and they're like, hey, we can't let this guy live like this anymore. We're going to go in and deal with it. And they'll find the money. We've had people take out loans before to pay for our services, because it is that important. We've had people say it was worth every dollar because now they're not living in that space anymore. That's like bringing them further and further down, right? You need a fresh restart if you want to get onto the track of healing and progress. And so, so sometimes people take out loans. You have family members come in, pitch in. You get nonprofits sometimes that will go in and help provide a little bit of funding there for that stuff. But yeah, it's tricky with the hoarding stuff because it's not like a death cleanup. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, how do you gather capital and resources to go and take care of something where someone kind of just kind of fell into that themselves, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to find support for that, and that's why it's kind of cool. Like with the YouTube stuff, I can find sponsors through
Mhm.
cool companies like Scrub Daddy, cool companies like Funkaway, and they will actually bring in a lot of that funding to make sure that these people get the help that they so desperately need.
So when you do a YouTube program, is that sponsored? Is everyone that you clean, someone that you're doing for free, or is this once in a while you'll do it for free if there's
Um,
funding?
yeah. So right now, a lot of my focus and intention is doing the free hoarder home cleanups and running the YouTube channel, right? And so that's kind of what my
It's
day to day is
wonderful.
based off of, which is really cool. It's a really cool position to be in to help people that otherwise wouldn't have been able to get that help. And then you get to see that complete and utter life change, and they're not, going into crazy amounts of debt for it. It's cool. So
And that's wonderful, and that's wonderful. But sometimes, you think, okay, well, sometimes people have to work to achieve that. So what is the interview process for you? What is your when you decide to take on a job, do you sit down and meet with them? Do you sit down and talk to them, or are you listening to somebody else hire you to clean it out? I mean, um,
right.
so have they already gone through the psychological help, the counseling, the coaching, whatever it is that they've not needed to go through, and then they meet you? Or is it the opposite?
Right. Yeah, well, it's always a work in progress. I mean, I just started doing this year. Our first clean out was back in March, I think. And this was during the fallout. I basically was iced out of the original corporate company, right? I couldn't post any hoarding cleanup projects from the previous company. That's why
Mhm,
I moved on to start my own thing.
mhm,
Because I wanted to film content. I realized the growth of this channel was based off of filming crazy, cool, satisfying cleanup content from hoards, right? And so I wanted to get back onto that track. And I was like, well, the easiest way to do that is just to start posting free hoarder home cleanups, right? Um, and so I put a post out, right, saying, hey, I'm looking to find some people who are in a hoarding type situation that want to get out of it. And then I would get hundreds of emails a day,
wow.
about that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I had to vet through a lot of people. One of the things I learned early on is don't say yes too quickly to someone just because they need help. I was really excited. I was really giddy to like start providing help and get the content. Um, and so it's kind of something to laugh about now. But you realize there's certain types of people that are better suited to get that type of free help, and some people that you might want to wait a little bit longer on, make sure they're in the right space mentally to receive such help, and to be able to carry on what we started, so that they don't go back to hoarding disorder, right? Um, so yeah, so basically now we have a phone call and we meet with them a couple of times, and we get a really clear picture of what the whole situation looks like holistically, right? Like
Mhm.
obviously we see that there's a mess there that needs to get cleaned up, but who lives in the house? What's the relationship dynamics like? What are some of the mental traumas that indicted a lot of this stuff? Um, and so if it makes sense for us to come in to help, so because we believe that they truly are ready to move on and change their lives, that's when we come in now to do that. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, as you progress with this, because you're relatively new at this, but you have
right.
created such a great awareness for people. I mean, I'm thinking about, how can I help? I mean, do people that join you, are they volunteers that you educate? Because what I see you is educating teams like a school where people come to you and they learn how to clean, and you can get all these people and have them work for you for learning to learn in more of a
Mm.
schooling
Hmm.
with you. That's what I see in you.
Totally. Yeah. Well, so, at first, we hired help. It's a lot of labor to do this type of stuff. And so we would hire contract workers with us on site to clear out a lot of the trash,
Mhm.
some existing biohazard companies in the area, right? Because we travel for these type of things. Um, and yeah, we pay them well. I try to pay them more than what they typically get paid,
Mhm.
which they're always very happy to see, because
Mhm.
it's really hard work. I did it for years. I know exactly what they're going through, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna reward you nicely because this is not a fun job, and I know you don't do this in your free time, you know.
Yeah.
And plus, with the sponsors we have, they provide that funding to be able to pay our contractors well, and so we're happy to do so. So
That's wonderful. So, what's your favorite? Okay, let's start with the worst. What's your worst story, your horror story that even you, Jacob Suarez, uh, Biggie cleaning, that you said, oh, I don't know if I could do this. What's your favorite story?
Mm,
Or
man, yeah.
your horror favorite
The
story?
horror story. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely been a handful of projects where I walk in and then I just walk out saying, nope, not today, guys. Not um, but I don't think I've ever turned away from a job completely. There's just been some jobs that I really, really, really didn't want to do. And basically that kind of looks like a home that started flooding, that year. So there's this thick layer of moisture, and the moisture is getting on the walls. You see mold everywhere on the carpet. It's just squishy every time you walk on it, and it's just a thick layer of wet trash and diapers from the person that lived there piled up, that you literally have to take shovels to like dump into, and yeah, it's just it can just be an absolute nightmare. Toilets that were absolutely full to the brim because they just started going in it, and then it got full and they just left it there, and it can get pretty severe.
Now,
And yes,
have
yeah.
you always loved to clean? I mean, as a teenager, did you have a clean room? Did your mom ever have to say, Jacob, you can't play until you clean your room? Has that ever happened to you, or did you
No,
just?
absolutely not. Yeah, if in general, I'm pretty messy, myself, and maybe it's because like I spend all day cleaning, and then last thing I want to do is go home and clean up my own stuff. And that could be it. But in general, I'm pretty disorganized myself, and so the things that I do at work and what I'm trying to do on my content is teach people how to clean. I'm really just teaching myself here, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's helping me. It's hopefully helping a lot of other people out there as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Have you improved in your cleaning process? Like every time you clean a home, have you created more of a, okay, now I have, okay, first we do this, then we do this.
Mm.
What's your first, second, and third, or more? What are some of the tips to cleaning that you want to give us today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, uh, when I want to clean up my own home, I kind of get back into work mode, right? And I just think of like, all right, let's just like clearly take the task at hand and just see that all the way through to the end, right? So maybe that's dishes. All right, let's start the dishes. Let's finish the dishes before we move on to the next thing. And then after the dishes, it's like, okay, well, let's use the bathroom, right? So we start the toilet, right? And then we move on to the sink, and then you go into the mirrors, right? You just kind of like have to really step by step really follow like a written plan. Something that's helped a lot for our clients we work with is a calendar, right? You have to give yourself a job. Cleaning is a job. I literally said I have to go into work mode when I go and clean up my own space because it's a job. And so when you start scheduling out time blocking specific time frames in your day to clean because that's your job now, it really helps people a lot. You got to shift that framework a little bit.
So do you
So
have
yeah,
a
I
be
think yeah.
clean? Do you have a be clean calendar that you give the people that you help?
Well, I think we're in the works of one right now. So
Awesome, awesome. Okay,
yes, sir.
okay. And
Uh,
maybe every month it has a little motivation about getting
mm,
them excited about cleaning your house. I always, when I coach people that have to do something, I always tell them to visualize it like having fun, like scrubbing the floors instead of like seeing yourself in your hands and knees and scrubbing the floors. Maybe you could put the scrubbers on your feet and pretend like you're roller skating everywhere. It's like a mindset kind of a hack. Like when I
right.
iron, I haven't ironed in a long time, but back then I used to iron, and so I would call a friend. And so instead of ironing, I'm really talking to my friend. So you kind of like hack your brain into thinking it's doing something fun. So
Right.
that's what I do. Okay. Okay. So what about your favorite story? Do you have a favorite
Ooh.
story of someone that you've helped clean, and maybe you've gone back? Have you gone back to any of these places to see if they've maintained their cleanliness?
Right. Yeah. So with that front, oftentimes they get embarrassed if we've already come in to clean up the home and they go back to it. And the last thing they want to do is call up the same people that originally did the project.
Mhm.
And so that happens. Other times people feel fine and they'll call us up again. We've gone to the same house 2 or 3 times now,
But
um,
they pay you. They pay you
and
well.
they pay us, yeah, repeat customers, which is kind
Mhm.
of something you don't really typically want in our line of work is repeat customers. It's not a very good thing. But if they need the help, they need the help, and we're always there to help provide it.
Mhm.
Um, And obviously it's like once we do, it's like we really try our best to connect them to mental health resources and just a maid company, because we can get the heavy lifting done, but just hire a company that will come in once a week and do the light stuff. That way you don't have to like, hire a
Yeah,
professional
yeah,
biohazard crew
yeah.
every quarter. There's other alternatives to that. Favorite story,
Mhm.
I would say, so as far as hoarding goes, we've had some pretty interesting clients, some people with very interesting collections. And so one person, they were a hoarder for years and years and years, and their obsession or their high interest was Elvis Presley. And so we just had years and years and years of Elvis Presley merch from beginning to end, just filled up the entire house. It's something I've never seen before. I've never seen so much Elvis Presley, just on every single wall,
Was
buckets
it
and
all dirty?
buckets.
Was it dirty, or was this just the incredible collection?
So that's the sad part with how, hoarding disorder leads to people to collect things, and then their collections become overrun by the natural consequences of hoarding, which is rats, feces, rat urine, and they just ruin it. And so you see precious materials just get absolutely destroyed from the addiction to stuff, right? Um, so yeah, so Elvis Presley was a fond memory, and then she loved that person, and so it was crazy talking to her and hearing about all the stories she had about the years she had collecting that merch and seeing their shows and all that. We had one person collect owl figurines, a lot of
Owl?
owls,
Uh-huh.
yeah, very big interest in owls. And so the same story, you just see it everywhere, just an owl house essentially. The bird house, that was a good one. She collected birds, a lot of birds. So animal hoarding is a whole thing we deal with as well. And so there were tons of birds everywhere, and she turned a bedroom into a cage for birds, right? It was like a zoo almost in there. And so we went in there and cleaned up a birdhouse. Literally, there was all the newspaper shreddings on the floor, and just stuff everywhere. That was a pretty interesting one. Um, yeah,
What do you do with all the birds? Do they keep the birds? I mean,
yeah. No, they cage them up and they put them to the side for a little bit while we do our thing, and then we clean it up and get it ready for the birds to come back in. It was a very very interesting scenario. But you kind of roll with the punches a little bit. And we've opened up fridges and freezers, and we're like, oh, frozen turtle, frozen bird in the freezer, because they were planning on bury them or something. And we're cleaning out the fridge, and we're like, oh, that's a surprise.
have you ever found a dead animal? Like
Oh, all the time. Yeah, cats. Yeah, people are like, I haven't seen Zoe in a while. So, well, Zoe's
good news,
three
bad
feet.
news. We found Zoe.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll just be going through the garage doing our thing, and then we see, this cat skeleton. We're like, oh, there's your cat. Didn't make it.
Do
It's
you
pretty
get
rough.
emotionally involved? Like you go, oh my God, there's a cat, or do you just say, oh, there's a cat?
I've seen it so many times, but now it's like, yeah, there's their cat. Didn't make it. Same thing with like, and you know what Nutrias are? Have you ever seen those?
What?
They're called Nutrias.
No.
They're
What
like
is a nutria?
they're like tiny beavers or really big possums, like really big possums, and they're terrifying,
Okay.
especially
Okay.
when they're like half eaten away, like in a garage. Anyway, we were shoveling up the garage, the hoarder garage, and then we see like this. It looks like an alien creature, in that decomposing state, and I like my heart was racing. I was really unsure about doing the rest of the project, because you don't know what you're going to find when you start unearthing years and years of hoard. So.
So, what percentage of America has this issue? What would you say
Mhm.
if I were to say, is it maybe 0.2%, or is it more like 10% or 20% of Americans have this disposition or this mental
Well,
illness?
yeah, it's interesting you say Americans, because it's true. This is a uniquely American issue. Too much stuff, right? We have this compulsive addiction to consume
Hmm.
more and more and more, and the system's a little bit set up in that way.
Hmm.
But it plays into your desires. It plays into your desire for security and comfort and the ability to have everything you could ever need whenever you want it, right? And so, as far as percentages, I don't know how to put that in a percentage, but it's way more common than people realize. Way more
Really?
common. Oh yeah, like I live in Portland, right? And so from years and years of doing this, you can kind of recognize if a home is a hoarder home just by looking at the outside of it. You can just
Really?
kind of
What are some of
tell.
the signs? What are some of the signs?
If the so this isn't true in every case, but if the blinds are closed all the
Okay.
way and they really never open them ever,
Okay.
They're trying to hide what people can see inside.
Hmm.
There's certain things you can see on the outside of just like a little bit of stuff piling up here and there. But it's like the natural disorganization of it. You can kind of tell like, oh, there wasn't much planning or thought of what they were going to do with it. They just bought it and just placed it there. And you can kind of see things like poking out of the window sometimes, and just cues like that. You know, it's kind of more of an instinctual thing. But yeah, a big thing is like if you see the blinds are closed and it's like, ooh, what are they? And they don't ever open them. It's like there's probably something in there they don't want you to see, because that's a big thing. Hoarding disorder, they're embarrassed about the stuff they have in there, but they simply just can't let go of it, right? So that's a very interesting dilemma we find a lot of our clients in. I want to be done with this. I hate hoarding disorder. I don't want this stuff, but I can't let go of it. Sad. It's really sad to see people in that state.
But it's beyond stuff. It's trash. It's dirty diapers. It's,
Mm,
bags. It's like I saw an episode that you did. It was a quick, I think it was on TikTok, where you were talking about I had to laugh because you were talking about grocery bags, right? So
right.
I use grocery bags, I keep them, but I have a purpose for them. So my grocery bags will go when I go walk on the beach. I live a half a mile from the beach on in Cape Canaveral on the intercoastal. So I'm surrounded by water. And so I feel responsible when I walk the beach and I see plastic, or if I see foam, if I see trash, I use those bags to pick up trash when I go for a walk on the beach. The
Hmm.
second thing I use, like when you get the groceries, like if you get greens or cucumbers and you have these clear little bags that you pick up, I
Yeah.
use that when I cook. I have a little bag. And when I chop up things, instead of running to the trash, I just put them in that
Oh,
bag.
that's
So
kind of smart.
that's what I use
Yeah.
it for.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I'm like, oh no, but am I a hoarder? No, because I do have a reason for it, and it makes my cooking and organization much easier, and it's
Mm,
free. I mean, you buy it, you buy the
yeah.
the vegetables, and it's there. So I have a little drawer that I use, and I just open it up, and I open it up so that I can, whatever I'm cutting, I just cut whatever I'm not going to use. I'm just going to put it in the trash. I put it in the bag first, and then I throw it in the trash. Part of me thinks, oh man, that's all the world needs is more plastic. But
Mm,
the reality is it's already been made. It's already been handed out. I'm just repurposing it. But I
right.
don't I don't shove it in I don't put it away and never use it. I do
Hmm.
have a use for it. And I'm like giving myself a test. Am I a hoarder? Am I not a hoarder? You
Right.
know?
Yeah. It's easy to psych yourself out with that. Become
Yeah.
paranoid, you know?
Yeah. But it's like, because, there are certain things that you see, these tendencies and behaviors.
Mm,
But no, I actually, the other day I opened the drawer and like, oh man, I'm going low because I use it. I actually use
right.
it. It's a time saver for me when I cook. I don't want to be going back and forth. So that is something that I do. It's a tip. But a hoarder will put it in there and never use it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, they had a great intent. That's the thing. That's the crazy part. After doing this with so many years, is that hoarders have phenomenal intentions with the
Hmm.
things they get. They really do. It's just there was a disconnect there between the intention and the actual use case scenario, and then it just sits there for years and years and years. Um, and so, yeah, that's kind of that confusing in between moment. We talk about a lot with the
Yeah.
clients we work with is uh, a lot of great intention, very poor execution, I guess is a way to put that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that's fair. I would say that's fair. But here's the where I can't marry the two: positive intention. Fecal matter on the floor. I don't care who you are. To me, I don't want to save that. I don't find any value to that. That's what the toilet is for. So at
Yeah.
what is that the point where you go from a level 3 to a level 4? Or is that how, where even your feces is a dear thing, letting go of it. And I,
Right.
I did some research on hoarding, and I thought, they're afraid that, there are certain things, certain levels where they feel they're afraid that if they let go of it, they'll forget the experience. And so they hold on to that tiny little thing, that
Mm,
little aluminum foil that they got at the park, at the ballpark, and they saw the home run, and they keep that, but then it keeps happening. It keeps growing, and it becomes bigger than them.
right. I would say the most severe example I've
Mhm.
seen of that was like this person who really, really loved their dog. And
Uh,
once the dog passed, obviously there's a big hoarder situation, but the dog passed, but they kept the dog feces that were in the house, right? So if the dog went in the house, someone tried convincing her, hey, we got to get rid of the trash and the dog poop, and like, well, but that's the last thing I remember of my friend here. Yikes. So that's the most severe example I can think of. People don't keep their own diapers and urine for the sake of keeping it. That's
Correct.
usually a natural consequence of the hoarding disorder,
Mhm.
and just the fact that there's a lot of stuff there, the fact that the stuff led to plumbing issues, the fact that because there's so much stuff in the house, you can't bring a plumber because there's nowhere for the plumber to walk into and
Oh,
fix anything. So it's a very, very bad snowball effect.
I tell you what, your heart is huge because as much as I love people and I want to help people, there's certain limits that I would have. I was watching one of your videos and I was eating lunch, by the way, and it was that feces, the poop, the dog poop everywhere, and you were trying to salvage some of the this was like, okay, we're not even going to salvage this carpet. We're just going to roll it up and we're going to throw it away. And I'm eating and I'm going, nope, I can't eat. I cannot eat this anymore. I've got to stop doing, and if I'm either going to watch what you're doing or I'm going to eat. I can't do both because
Right.
you
Yeah.
have to have a very strong stomach with for smells and things that your mindset that you have been able to look at things, but really look through them instead of
Mm,
allowing them to absorb, into your body, that you're just doing a job. You're not even looking at it as species. You're just doing a job is amazing. It is a
mm.
gift from God. It really is. I think you were really truly chosen for this because I don't know if a lot of people would sign up for this job, even if it was a high school gig. So my hat's out off to you. My hat's off to you. Really,
Thanks.
truly.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes. So with that in mind, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about my website, and then I'm going to go back to you,
Mhm.
Jacob. So basically, I just want to let you know that these conversations that we have here about life, it's about life, and about doing the things that create and promote healing, spirit, mind, and body. And so if you are watching today and it's your first time and you want to come on to whenyouneedafriend.com, this is the website, is whenyouneedafriend.com. And please subscribe while you're there, because this is how we gather, for people get to know who's going to be in the class and what we're going to be doing next, what's going on. And of course, I give a tip as a coach. I give a tip in the website, in the blog as well. Once a week, you get the blog. You can also go to all my social media, Facebook, YouTube, all the podcasts. You can like and follow me on all those so that you can get this for free, because this is really a free help for all of you that would like to change your life or improve your life, or maybe your life is perfect and you just want to become aware of other things that are happening in the world. And so please go to whenyouneedafriend.com, like and follow me on all social media. Check out my workshops. The next workshop that we're doing is a live seminar with Dr. Bradley Nelson, November 3rd and 4th. So I want to invite you to join us, because talk about, if some of the things that we're talking about with us today is resonating, this is a really wonderful way, the emotion code, the body code, a wonderful way to tap into your subconscious mind and kind of get rid of all these traumas one by one, and come to the event because you'll be surrounded by like-minded people. So that's just one of the things. You can also go to other workshops in my Shop Now bag, all Lily approved products that will give you a discount or will help you, and that will also help the classroom grow. And last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. So whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month or a one-time donation, I don't care the amount. Everything that you give will help grow the classroom, whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure. And by the way, sharing this video alone helps us out and helps us beat the algorithms. Some of the information we share, they don't want it out there, because it's about taking your life back, taking your health back naturally. And so today I'm so excited because I reached out to Jacob Suarez. He's a multi-million followers and he doesn't need my help. He doesn't need my promotion, but what he's sharing, we all need to hear. And I'm so grateful to you, Jacob, that you took the time to not only come into the classroom, but also share some of your tips and share your experiences with us. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and you can also go to Biggie Clean, and actually you can go to, because this there the website is in transition, but if you go to the link tree, I don't know if you're familiar with link, it's linktr.ee/Biggie.clean. You will be able to find all his content, all you can, it'll send you to the places where you need to go. What are some of the things, Jacob, that have been your biggest takeaways? Now, I hear that you come into this place without judgment. You don't want to judge a person that's down on their luck. You don't want to judge any of that. But what have been some of your takeaways when it comes to learning from these people?
Right. So, what are some things I've learned from helping the hoarding audience and from even the trauma audience, right? For when we do suicide cleanups and death cleanups, right? Um, you have to understand that as far as hoarding disorder goes, it's always a trauma response, right? Something happened in their life that was the inciting incident for where they are today. And so when you walk into a scene and you're like, wow, how could anyone live like this? You got these negative, judgmental thoughts going in your brain. Everyone has those. And you start recognizing that, but then moving beyond that, a few layers deeper, like, well, what caused this possibly in this person's life to start hoarding all this trash and live in such awful conditions? I see all those comments on the internet just absolutely ripping these people apart, tearing them down. When it's like, hey, this person went through something that really deeply affected them, right? Like I said earlier, your mental space, your physical space is a clear representation of your mental space, right? So let's look into that and let's try to get these people the help that they need, right? So I think that has really been the biggest takeaway for me, is recognizing that everyone's gone through something, something pretty deeply impactful, either for better or for worse. And you can't really judge people for how they are now, because they are and essentially a product of what has happened, what's been done to them in a lot of ways, shapes, and forms, and recognizing the possibility for growth and for healing beyond that, and that they are not who they are today forever, right? So yeah, that's what I'd say
I
to that.
think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. This is only God given. I mean, this is for you to be able to see through godly eyes, that, where somebody would see trash, which maybe some of you are watching today and you're a little messy, or your partner is a little messy. You're probably going, oh, judgment. But what is the root cause of that mess? Now, that's a great question. That's a great adventure to go in to discover what's the reason I do this, because this doesn't happen overnight, right, Jacob? This
Right.
takes a long time
Mm-hmm.
of no cleaning. So we're not talking about a little mess, but I would say, what are some of the conversations? And I don't know if these are privileges that you've had to have these conversations where you can talk to somebody who's messy, or isn't, maybe have some hoarding tendencies and is afraid of giving up some things. um, what are some of the ways to talk to the person without insulting them, without
Mm.
saying, oh, look at that mess, you're such a pig, or whatever it is? How
Yeah.
do you talk to the person to continue to humanize them, to make them feel that
Mm.
they're human? What are some of those, like, maybe conversations that you can share?
100%. Yeah, I would say when you walk into a scene and you're meeting someone, or you're just talking about the obvious, elephant in the room, um, calling their stuff that they so deeply value and treasure garbage and trash and disgusting, it's not going to go well. It just won't. Uh, Reframing it as clutter, your stuff, your things, those terms sit much better for these people. And it doesn't immediately attack them, right? You attack their stuff, you attack them in a large way. And so being respectful of their things that they acquired, they put tons of thought and energy and intention into these things. We see it as trash and garbage. They don't see it the same way. They physically, they literally do not. And so if you want to make progress, you got to check your feelings and judgment at the door. Like that just can't be there if you want
That's
to see
beautiful.
healing, right? So
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
that's the obvious one to me. Yeah, and the rest is just kind of, just being open and receptive, understanding that, they went through something, being able to talk about their problems and the way they feel about their stuff, and um, even the discomfort that they're experiencing, seeing their stuff get taken out, like let's
Hmm.
dive deep into that. It's
Hmm.
like you're experiencing stress and anxiety over this thought of your stuff leaving your home. Is there a security and attachment you have to things?
Hmm.
How can we move that security and attachment to something a little bit more real? Maybe it's that relationship with your kids. Maybe it's having a home that's safe enough for you to have friends over again, right? These people haven't had people in their home for years. And
Hmm.
when we're done with the job, they're like, hey, I can bring friends over. I've never been able to do that ever, right? So it's those type of things you really want to focus on, and not so much get your crap out of this house. This is nasty. It's like, no, let's make sure you've got a great relationship with your kids again, because they're not allowed over because of the stuff. Let's make
Hmm.
sure we can, have a party here and celebrate when good times happen. Let's make sure if something were to happen and you fall down and you need help, that a firefighter can come in and actually pick you up and get you the help you need, because they can't right now with the state of your home. It's not safe. So,
You know, how beautiful that God has given you this mission, this ministry. I really think of it as a ministry. This is a new ministry, a different kind of ministry, because there's a lot of hurting people out there. That's
right.
why I love what I do. Not because there's a lot of hurting people in there, but because all of us have a part. We're a part of the body of God, part of Christ. We're all part of that body. And you are the hands. I mean, I may be the voice, or I may be somebody else might be the head, the feet, the hands, the arms, the eyes. So I just love that you're being called to this, and you are just embracing it to full potential, which we had a conversation about Generation Z, and I did not have a lot of hope or a lot of expectation, but listening to you and knowing that you are connected to this generation, I am very hopeful today. I am very hopeful, and you are, like I said, you're spearing this. You're blazing the trail. And sometimes when you blaze the trail, there's a lot of like bullets behind you, or arrows behind you, because you are creating something different and new. And so, congratulations on that. This is wonderful. And not only are you starting your own business, so to speak, you're creating awareness, and you're doing it with kindness.
Mm.
You're doing it with kindness, and that is so important. So some of the questions that we can ask ourselves. So let's turn it around. We're not hoarders. We may have a little bit too much in our bedroom, or in our closet, or in our kitchen. And I used to call my sister, my oldest sister, a hoarder, because she had so many spices. Nobody could ever use up all those spices, but she would shop, and whenever she found a spice, she would like it. And so, but they were like expired. And I'm like, well, this one is expired. Can I throw it away? Oh, no, no, they still work. So, okay, I'll leave it
Yes,
there. But
sir.
she's not, I mean, she's not a hoarder. But when it comes to this, we all have a closet, a car, a trunk, whatever it is. We all have that space. And I
Yeah.
remember doing an interview with Cassandra Arson, and so the question was, do I need it? Do I really need this? Will it change who I am if I give it away? It's like when and I went through, after that, I went through my closet, and I got rid of a lot of things. And once I did that, Jacob, there was a lot of abundance that came my way. It's almost like sometimes we have so much stuff that we don't have room for more, and the universe hears that and doesn't give you any more.
Mm.
But when
Yeah.
you make space, it's amazing how much will come towards you. I don't
Mm.
know. That's just what I've experienced. Have you experienced that too? Have you seen that change in you and in your life once you create space?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, the more you think about it, the more like, if you're so caught up with doing things every minute, every hour, right? Trying to stay productive, be busy every single minute. It's almost like a flex, or like a sign of prosperity if you're always busy, right? And
Mhm.
you want to brag to your friends in a sense, like, oh, it's just been so busy, we're doing so many things. But what about creating space to allow new thoughts and new ideas to come
Mhm.
in?
Mhm.
And new visions. You can only do that if you have that space, um, and that's really quality of life. There, having space to
Mhm.
think about these things and to engage in things that truly matter to you. Um, And I've just noticed, even physically, if I clean up my space and I notice that there is literally more space, I feel clearer in my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That for me is my closet. And I wrote an article for Florida's Today. I wrote an article called "A Journey into My Messy Closet," and I wrote
Mhm.
this a long time ago when I was procrastinating. I was procrastinating writing a talk. It was my first talk that I ever gave, and I didn't think I was good enough to do something like that subconsciously. But what I did was I was procrastinating. That was one of my problems when I was younger. And let me tell you, I saw the closet and I thought, well, I'd rather just clean my closet. That's how much I was procrastinating. And what I was able to see the story of my life as I was taking things out. And when I know when my life is out of balance, when my closet is messy, and when I see it and I recognize it as a mess, I stop and I say, I'm not doing anything else until I clean this closet, because I know that once I clean this closet, I have clarity and peace. And
Mm.
you just finished saying that is exactly what happens. Now, last thing before we go, because we got to go soon, but if somebody wanted to have you clean their home, how would they go start the process?
Absolutely. Yeah. So on any of my social media channels, if you hit the link in the bio there on my socials, it'll take you to this website, and there is a form fill. And that form fill will be there for anyone who needs hoarding help or any type of biohazard cleanup help. And if you fill that out, we can connect you very quickly and easily to biohazard and hoarding cleanup companies locally in your area, right? And
Brilliant.
certain situations. That's what we do. We connect people to the help and resources that they need locally in their area. That's our specialty. And yeah, I fly out to certain projects to film and bring awareness to it as well. So there's always a possibility for that. So yeah, look at my socials, click the link tree. That's how you find the stuff that we do and the help that you might need. So
Absolutely. And you can find the Linktree information in the blog. You can also click there. So start your journey. If you find yourself listening to this and saying, I'm not a hoarder, but I am going to clean up my space right now, then I am right with you. And I know that that this will clear up everything else in your life. So Jacob, thank you so much for everything that you're doing to make this world a safer place, a cleaner place. And all of us can aspire to be like you and be clean. So thank you so much for coming on today to share your wisdom.
absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Jacob Suarez wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job.
Hey.
You did it. Yay.
Oh.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before